There are days when the sun rises and you just don't. You're lying there, not because you're lazy, not because you don't care, but because the weight on your chest is heavier than the gravity holding you down. What if I told you that it's okay to feel like this? That maybe, just maybe, you don't have to hide it anymore. Stick with this video, because by the end, you'll see why feeling not okay might be the beginning of something more honest and more powerful than anything you've tried to fake. There's a quiet kind of suffering that doesn't scream. It doesn't come with dramatic breakdowns or visible wounds. It walks into rooms with a smile and leaves with shoulders heavy and words left unsaid. It's the kind of pain you hide because people expect you to be doing better. And somewhere along the way, you started expecting it from yourself too. You started believing that unless you were productive, positive, composed, you were somehow failing. But here's the truth. You are allowed to feel broken. You are allowed to not be okay. No one gets through life untouched by loss, confusion, or loneliness. And yet, most people walk around pretending they're fine because they think that's what strength looks like. But strength isn't the absence of struggle. Real strength is showing up, even when you're limping. You see, there's a pressure in the world today, a silent expectation that says, if you're not okay, fix it, fast. And if you can't, well then, maybe there's something wrong with you. But healing doesn't work like that. Growth doesn't follow a schedule. Some wounds take longer to close, and some feelings stay longer than we'd like. Not because we're weak, but because they need to be heard before they leave. That heaviness you feel, it's not a flaw. It's not failure. It's a message. Your heart is trying to tell you something. And maybe, for the first time, you need to listen instead of escape. Think about this. When was the last time someone gave you permission to just feel? To cry without needing to explain why? To rest without guilt? To say, I don't know, and not be judged? That's what this moment is. This video is your permission slip. Because there's no deadline for being okay. And there's no shame in still figuring it out. And yes, there will be people who don't understand. Who say just cheer up, or be grateful. But this isn't about them. This is about you. And you know what's really brave? Sitting with your sadness. Looking at your pain and saying, I won't run from you today. Here's what people rarely admit. Most of us are performing. We're actors in our own lives, saying the right lines, hitting the marks, and wondering why we still feel empty when the curtain falls. But there's another way. You can stop performing. You can stop pretending. You can start healing. Not with affirmations or instant solutions, but with honesty, with slowness, with choosing to sit in the quiet and ask yourself the questions that matter. What am I really feeling? What part of me have I been ignoring? And what would happen if I gave that part compassion instead of criticism? That's where the real change begins. Not with pressure, not with perfection, but with permission. Permission to feel everything you've avoided. Permission to take up space even when you're tired. Permission to rest without earning it. Because healing isn't a reward, it's a right. And you, exactly as you are right now, deserve it. Sometimes, what you call weakness is actually your soul trying to protect itself. Let that sink in. The reason you can't push through like you used to might be because something inside of you has learned that pushing too hard costs too much. Your body remembers. Your heart remembers. And maybe, for once, it's asking you to pause instead of press forward. But we've been taught the opposite, haven't we? Keep going no matter what. Push through the pain. Don't let anyone see you fall. So you learn to fake smiles, to answer, I'm fine, like a reflex. You keep showing up, but you stop showing yourself. And eventually, that quiet sadness becomes normal. You forget what it's like to wake up excited, to speak without filtering every word, to feel like yourself instead of a version people expect. But here's the secret no one talks about. You don't come back to life by doing more. You come back by feeling more. You heal by being honest. Not just with others, but with yourself. You say things like, I'm tired. I feel empty, and I don't know why. I want to be okay, but I'm not there yet. And in that honesty, you start finding your breath again. Not because someone fixed you, but because you stopped pretending you were never broken. Let's talk about the pressure to snap out of it. That voice in your head that whispers, come on, this isn't that bad. Other people have it worse. You should be over this by now. You hear it so often that it becomes your inner narrator. And slowly, you start doubting your own pain. You start believing you're dramatic or too sensitive. But let me ask you something real. When did we decide that pain had to be justified to be valid? Your sadness doesn't need to be compared to someone else's. Your exhaustion doesn't need to be explained. And your healing doesn't need to be earned. You don't need permission from the world to hurt. Take a moment and breathe. Really, right now, just inhale deeply and exhale slowly. You're still here. That alone is something to honor. Sometimes, survival looks like brushing your teeth. Sometimes, it looks like getting out of bed after pressing snooze 5 times. Sometimes, it looks like making it through the day without breaking down in public. That is progress, even if no one claps for it. You're allowed to have days when you don't want to talk. You're allowed to need space without guilt. You're allowed to say, I don't know how to fix this yet, but I'm trying. There's beauty in the attempt. There's power in the pause. There's grace in the waiting. One of the most dangerous lies is that healing looks like a straight line, that once you've made peace with something, you'll never feel it again. But that's not how life works. Grief loops back. Triggers resurface. Sadness visits without knocking. And that doesn't mean you're broken again. It means you're human. Healing isn't a finish line. It's a rhythm. Some days you breathe deeper. Some days you just survive. Both are sacred. And maybe no one told you this before, so let me say it now. You don't have to impress anyone with how well you're coping. You don't have to prove your strength by minimizing your pain. The most courageous thing you can do is tell the truth about where you are, even if that truth is messy, uncertain, or silent. Because the real healing starts there, not when you say, I'm better, but when you finally say, this hurts. Think of a garden in winter. On the surface, it looks dead, cold, lifeless. But beneath the frozen ground, things are still moving. Roots are deepening. Seeds are hardening. Soil is restoring. Just because nothing is blooming doesn't mean nothing is becoming. You're allowed to be in your winter season. And winter doesn't apologize for not blooming. Neither should you. You don't need to rush your return. The world might be spinning fast around you. People might expect you to bounce back, smile again, get over it. But healing doesn't follow their timelines. It follows your truth. And your truth matters. Because here's what most people never realize. You're not broken, you're becoming. Yes, you're tired. Yes, you feel lost. Yes, some days you question if you'll ever feel whole again. But becoming whole isn't about never hurting. It's about learning to carry your pain with tenderness. It's about learning that even the cracked pieces of your heart still belong to you and still deserve to be loved. Let's talk about what healing might look like for you. Not the movie version, not the social media version, the real version. Healing might look like writing something you're afraid to say out loud. It might look like saying no when your body begs for rest. It might be forgiving someone who never apologized, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Healing might look like letting someone see you cry, or being alone without numbing the silence, or finally admitting, I need help. And none of that is weakness. It's wisdom. Sometimes we hold on to pain because it's familiar, because if we let go, we're afraid of who we'll be without it. But let me gently ask you this. What if letting go isn't the end of who you are, but the beginning of who you're meant to become? What if your sadness isn't a stop sign, but a signal that something deeper needs attention, that your soul is asking you to slow down, to listen, to tend to the places you've ignored? And what if this moment, this exact moment, where you feel low, confused, or tired, isn't a detour at all? What if this is the path? You don't need to fix your life overnight. You don't need to fake smiles tomorrow. You just need to keep showing up, slowly, honestly, imperfectly. Because some days, the bravest thing you'll do is not give up on yourself. Here's something to try this week. Pick one small act of self-kindness. Not to prove something, not to post online, just because you're a human being and humans need care. Maybe you take a walk, not to burn calories, but to breathe. Maybe you drink water and actually taste it. Maybe you delete a number you keep checking out of habit. Maybe you write a letter you never send. Whatever it is, let it remind you. You are still here. You are still worthy. You are still becoming. And if no one told you this lately, you're doing better than you think. You've survived things others will never know about. You're not failing. You're healing. And that takes more courage than anyone will ever give you credit for. So if today you don't feel okay, that's okay. You don't need to fake it. You don't need to rush it. You don't need to hide. You are not alone in this. You are not your lowest moment. You are not the silence between your words. You are not the pressure you feel to be better before you're ready. You are more than all of that. And you are loved. Even here. Especially here. If this message touched something in you, not to fix you, but to remind you, Then hold on to it. Let it echo when the noise gets too loud. And when you're ready, not before, come back and take the next step with me. We're not here to be perfect. We're here to keep becoming.